Behold, mortal, a child of radiant beauty shall spring forth from you. But beware, her beauty will cast shadows of strife and calamity to those around. Embrace the divine decree, as the gods we shall surely unfold in the dance of destiny. Long time ago, in the village of Mokara, there lived a woman named Laila. In the village of Morocco, Laila was different from other women. Ever since she was a little girl, she was never hardworking. As a child, she would frown and complain when she was sent to do chores, and she would also give her mother problems. As Laila grew up to be a woman, she didn't change. Her husband was a good man who people loved in the village, and people always managed to ask how he ended up with Laila. As time passed, Laila didn't change. In the village of Morocco, there was a tradition that happened when the prince of the village was of age and ready to get married. There would be a festival, and the prince would end up marrying the most beautiful girl in the village. This would make the lady's family to become royalty. Since Laila was a lazy woman and loved wealth without working, she decided she was going to become a part of royalty. Laila was not a very beautiful woman. However, she boasted to her friends in the market that she was going to be a part of royalty and that she would give birth to a beautiful child that would make it happen. The women in the market laughed very hard at her joke. This made Laila more determined to prove them wrong. Laila sat on her home for days thinking about how she would achieve her plan. She then devised a plan. However, she waited till she was pregnant before she carried it out. When Laila became pregnant, she began to make moves on her plan. She decided to meet the most powerful priestess in the village, Zimona, a strong woman of power and will. Laila explained that she wanted to give birth to a very beautiful baby. Zimona told her that the only way that would be guaranteed was for her to appease the goddess of beauty. Zimona told Laila that the task would not be easy. She told her that she would need to do some very difficult tasks. Also, she would need to go to the forest of the heavens and look for the goddess of beauty tree and then call on her. She would also need to drop a gift that is very valuable. Laila decided to carry out Zimona's advice. She did all the difficult tasks and then went into the forest. She sold all her tangible personal items, her wrappers, her little jewelry, and then she bought a golden bracelet. Inside the forest, Laila called upon the goddess of beauty. She waited for hours, and then the goddess of beauty appeared in the form of a beautiful peacock. "I have heard your cry. I will grant you your desire," the goddess spoke. She brought out a feather from the peacock and told Laila to rub it in her stomach. Laila did as she was told. The goddess then told Laila that the deed was done and that she would give birth to an enchanting child. The goddess told Laila to go home and come back the next day with the bracelet and the feather. Laila went home. However, the next day when she returned to the forest, she dropped the feather, but she didn't drop the golden bracelet. She was anxious that she would suffer as she had sold all her personal belongings. She also thought that it would be a long time before her child would grow and compete with other girls to become the new queen. With all this in her mind, Laila went home with her golden bracelet. Laila was anxious that something bad would happen to her that night. To her surprise, nothing did. Months passed and nothing happened. Little did Lila that the gods do not forget things and they do not like to be disobeyed or tricked. On the night when Lila delivered her child, the goddess of beauty appeared to her in a dream and cursed her baby. Behold, mortal, a child of radiant beauty shall spring forth from you. But beware, her beauty will cast shadows of strife and calamity to those around. Embrace the divine decree, as the gods will shall surely unfold in the dance of destiny. In due time, Lila bore a beautiful baby. She called her Ella. At a young age, Ella was so beautiful that the villagers adored her. Lila received so many gifts that made her so happy. However, some villagers wondered and questioned how Lila was able to give birth to such a beautiful child. Ella, to the surprise of many, was not like her mother. She took after her father instead. Ella would sit with elders and listen to tales and words of wisdom. She would also do chores without complaining and help others around her. As Ella grew older, her good and kind nature remained. She would teach little children to be obedient to their parents, and so many villagers loved her for this. Many men in the village admired Ella, but many were not bold enough to approach her. Others felt she was too beautiful and that she was reserved for the prince in the village. However, they were still kind to her and would greet her when she encountered them. However, there was one man in the village who avoided Ella like a plague. His name was Tolani. Tolani was the son of Zimona, the most powerful priestess in the village. Zimona was the priestess who told Ella's mother to go meet the goddess of beauty in order to have a good child. Zimona, however, told her son Tolani to avoid Ella. She did this because ever since Ella was born, she sensed an evil and dark aura surrounding Ella. Zimona then concluded that Lila must have done something wrong or must have disobeyed, and because of this, Ella was not born into the world with purity. Since Lila never bothered to tell Zimona what happened about Ella's birth, Zimona refrained from asking her. She only told Tolani to not be close to Ella like the other villagers. One day, Ella confronted Tolani. She asked if she had offended him and if that was why he avoided her intentionally. Tolani told Ella that she did nothing wrong. However, he told Ella that he felt she was only favored because of her beauty and that besides her beauty, she was nothing more. Ella was determined to prove to Tolani that she was more than just a beautiful face and that she had more virtue and value as a person. She then told Tolani to meet her later that evening. When evening came, Ella and Tolani started a conversation. Ella then began to speak powerful words of wisdom and mystical things that was only known to few persons in the village. Ella then told Tolani that she had always been with elders to listen to them and that her beauty was not what defined her as a person. Tolani was surprised that Ella was filled with so much grace and wisdom despite her beauty. The next day, Tolani approached Ella and apologized for misjudging her. He then told that they can be friends and that if she needed help she could come to him. Tolani then went to tell his mother that he and Ella had become friends. Zimona, knowing that her son was now a grown man, knew that he would not be able to keep her son away from Ella. She then decided to give Tolani a very powerful enchantment bead. She told Tolani that the bead would protect him from any form of harm and that she should wear it at all times. However, there was more to how powerful the bead she gave Tolani was. And also why the bead was so powerful. Zimona felt there was no need to tell Tolani any more than he needed to know. She believed her son would be safe either way. Things started to fall apart for Ella a few days later after she turned 20 years old. Akin, a renowned farmer in the village who had just harvested his crops, went to present it to Ella's mother. He said that the crops was for Ella. Lila, being a mischievous woman, did not reject the gift. Instead, she danced and was happy. The problem did not stop there. A few days later, some men in the village did the same thing. They would sell their merchandise in the markets and go over to drop huge loads of gifts for Ella's mother. This became a huge concern for the women in the village. Soon the love that they had for Ella disappeared. As Ella was still dealing with the reality and problem that she was facing, and how the village was now starting to hate her, more problems followed. Ella had gone into the nearby forest to cry. She didn't go too deep into the forest so she would not be endangered. However, she knew that it was the only place she could cry out her heart without anyone seeing or judging her. Unknown to her, someone was just coming from deep inside the forest. It was Tolani. Tolani had gone into the forest to pick some powerful herbs for his mother, Priestess Zimona. Tolani saw Ella crying and approached her. After hearing what happened, Tolani comforted Ella. He told her that life was full of challenges and that everything would be fine. He also gave her a few herbs to take home. He told her that the herbs would help calm her nerves and also help her to sleep well. Let's go back into the village. You will be fine, Tolani told Ella. Ella smiled and the both of them walked into the village. A week later, after the whole drama about Ella receiving gifts and food items from other men, something more strange occurred. A prince named Prince Olu had come to Mokera village to discuss something important with the king. On his way, he was sent on behalf of his father, King Maidon, who was a powerful king in a nearby village. When Prince Olu arrived Mokera village, he passed through the marketplace with his guards in order to get to the village palace. As the villagers saw him, they all bowed in respect to the young prince. Ella, who happened to be at the market, also saw Prince Musa and bowed. However, the young prince was fast enough to have taken note of her beauty before she bowed her head. He then walked up to Ella and introduced himself. "Please, arise, young maiden," the prince said to Ella. He then stretched his hand to Ella as a sign of good gesture. Ella took the prince's hand and arose. It would have been a sight of utter disrespect if Ella had refused the prince's hands. However, something utterly strange and dark took place when this happened. As soon as Ella's hands touched the prince's body went into a shock and suddenly he fell to the ground and became unconscious. Prince Olu's guards were shocked at what happened. They thought the prince fell as a mistake, so they went close to him and tried to help him up. As soon as the two guards touched the prince's body, they too fell and became unconscious. It was at that moment that the two remaining bodyguards knew that something was wrong. They knew that some sort of evil power was at work. The bodyguards were angry and vicious, but they knew that if they tried to help the prince, the same calamity would befall them. The bodyguards then warned the villagers. They told them that they would return back to their village and report to the king. They then said that the villagers should prepare for war for killing their beloved prince. The bodyguards then left the village. What do you think will befall the fate of Ella and her village? Will they be destroyed by the powerful village ruled by King Maidon, or will they suffer a more disastrous fate? Find out in the next part. Please like, share and subscribe to Folktales. Till we meet again. The news got to the king about what had happened in the market with Ella, the prince and his bodyguards. The king then asked the guards to bring Ella to the palace. He however warned that they should not touch her, so they won't be harmed. The king also sent bodyguards to go bring Ella's parents for questioning. Then he sent another set of his guards to call the priestess Zimona and tell her what had happened. He also told the guards to tell Zimona to find a solution, as the prince's body and his bodyguards cannot lay on the ground in the market. When the guards arrived, they explained the situation to Zimona. Zimona then prepared the herbal powder and rubbed it on the guard's body. He then told them that they can now carry the prince and his bodyguards without harm to the palace. When Ella arrived at the palace, she bowed and greeted the king and his son, the handsome prince. The king wasted no time and asked her about what had happened. Ella confessed, saying she is just as surprised as everyone. She said she had no idea how the situation turned to be so. It didn't take long, Ella's parents also arrived at the palace. Zimona and the king's bodyguards also happened to enter the palace at the same time with the prince's body and his bodyguards. The king then explained the situation to Ella's mother and father. He threatened that if the truth is not told, they would all be executed. Ella's mother, Lila, knew that at this point, she could no longer hide the truth. She fell to the ground and began to ask for mercy as she confessed. She told the king about everything that happened between her and the goddess of beauty. When Ella heard this, she was shocked. She was not even sure how to react. Ella's father also didn't believe his wife could go this far to achieve her selfish desires. "I am your husband. Yet you kept this from me for years. Look at the problem you've brought upon our family." Lila's husband said to his wife in pain, disappointment, and sadness. Ella was short of words as tears began to drop from her eyes. The king, after listening to Lila, asked Zimona if anything could be done to save the prince and his bodyguards in order to avoid war with their neighboring village. Zimona was blunt and told the king the truth. She explained that the situation was a very difficult one. She then said that it would have been easier to handle if the curse had not taken effect. However, appeasing the goddess would not be as easy as years had already gone by. Zimona mentioned that the gods hated to be tricked or played for a fool. "We will have to make a human sacrifice, my king," Zimona said. She then added that Lila would be the sacrifice. She said that was the only way to restore balance and break the curse. Everyone was shocked at Zimuna's words. Lila fell to the ground and began to cry. Ella covered her mouth in shock. The king, having looked at the face of Ella's family, took pity on them. He asked Zimuna if there was no other way to break the curse. Zimuna explained that if there was time, she might have been able to find another way, but since war was coming from the other village, there was nothing more she could do. She said that after the sacrifice, the curse would immediately break and the prince and his guard's health would return back to normal. Zimuna then told the king that the sacrifice would have to happen very early the next morning. She explained that she and the other priestess have to perform a ritual fast before the sacrifice can be made the following morning. She also said that it was forbidden to appease the goddess of beauty at night. The king told Zimuna that there was no problem, that the neighboring would not have arrived by then. He then told them that they can start the preparation. The king ordered Lila to be put in the prison. He then ordered Ella and her father to return home. He also told her to stay away from the villagers so she would not harm them by mistake. When Ella got home, she went to the corner of her hut and began to cry. Her father had used words to comfort her, but that was all he could do. It didn't take long. Tolani came over to comfort Ella. He had gone to the forest and had only got back to hear the unfortunate news. He then decided to come see Ella. By this time, it was already evening. Ella warned Tolani that he should stay far from her, that she could harm him. Tolani replied her saying, "Don't worry. If anyone can hold you, it is I. I am protected," Tolani said as he hugged Ella. Ella was surprised that Tolani could touch her without being harmed. She was very relieved. Ella poured out her heart in tears as she could not bear to lose her mother. Tolani said nothing but just stayed at Ella's side. Tolani told Ella that he may have a way to save her mother without the sacrifice. Ella was shocked. She found it hard to believe Tolani. Tolani explained to Ella that there were special mystical items with power, and some even had the ability to quell the anger of the gods and can be used to appease them. He told Ella that the reason why his mother may not have mentioned it to the king was because the items were so rare and could even take weeks or months to find. By then, the neighboring village would have started a war with them already. Tolani then told Ella that he had one of such mystical items, a celestial crystal. He told Ella that one time, when he went deep into the forest of heavens to get some powerful herbs for his mother, he came across a serpent that was trying to eat a mystical bird. Tolani explained that he was able to help the bird. The bird flew to him and a tear dropped from its eyes. The tears turned into a crystal. Tolani then told Ella that the crystal may be able to appease the goddess of beauty. Tolani felt bad that he had not told his mother about the incident. Maybe then, his mother would not have resorted to planning a sacrifice but would have tried the crystal instead. Ella told Tolani that they should tell Zimuna, his mother. Tolani explained that Zimuna and the other priestess had already started the sacred preparation for the sacrifice. He explained that interrupting a sacrificial preparation for the gods is highly abominable and disrespectful. He then shocked Ella and told her that the gods find it so offensive and such is punishable by death. Tolani told Ella that they would have to appease the goddess by themselves. He told her that they would leave in the morning before his mother to go make the appeal. Also, they would return back before his mother and the other priestess would be ready to sacrifice Ella's mother. Tolani told Ella that he wants to go make the preparation and that he would come back very early the next morning. Tolani then left. Later, Tolani returned back to meet Ella. This time, there was a worried look on his face. Ella was worried if something had gone wrong with the preparation, as she was expecting Tolani in the morning. Tolani then explained to Ella that there was serious trouble. He told Ella that while he had left her, he saw a horrible vision of the neighboring village destroying their village in the evening of the next day. Ella asked Tolani how that was possible. She said that it would take at least 2 days before the king would arrive at their village. Tolani then explained to Ella that in his vision, he saw that the king and his men passing through a secret shortcut way that nobody knew. He explained that by passing the shortcut they were able to arrive at the village earlier than everyone expected. Tolani told Ella that they can no longer wait till morning to appeal to the goddess. They had to do it at night unless their village could be at war and destroyed the next day. However, appeasing the beauty goddess at night was dangerous. It is forbidden to appeal to the goddess of beauty in the night. Beauty resides in the morning. The sun, the flowers. Everything beautiful can be seen in the day. However, we have no choice. We will call upon the goddess of beauty this night. May the gods favor us, Tolani said. Later that night, Ella followed Tolani to the forest of the heavens. They carried some important items as well as the celestial crystal. After Tolani performed the necessary ritual, he told Ella to bow her head and not to raise it up. He also told Ella to stay behind him. Tolani then called upon the beauty goddess. It didn't take long, thunder struck and the beauty goddess appeared in the form of a giant bird. How dare you summon me at night? The beauty goddess spoke in anger. Tolani begged for forgiveness and told the goddess that he had come to appeal to her. All the while he spoke, Ella did not raise her head. Tolani then told the goddess that he brought the celestial crystal as a gift. The beauty goddess told Tolani that she would accept his gift and that Ella's curse would be gone in 3 days' time. Tolani knew that in 3 days his village would already be destroyed by war. He then continued his plea with the goddess and begged her that the curse should disappear that night. The goddess told Tolani that the celestial crystal was not a gift worthy to make her change her decision. The beauty goddess then told Tolani that he had a gift with him that was worthy to appease her and make her anger quell. Tolani was confused as he knew he didn't bring any other mystical gift. The goddess then told him that the enchanted bead on his hands was a more appealing gift than his celestial crystal. He told him that if he is willing to part with the gift, she would remove Ella's curse immediately and all the effects of the curse would be broken. Tolani then removed the enchanted bead and dropped it before the goddess. Suddenly the goddess' form changed into a beautiful peacock. She then blessed Ella with a covering of protection and told them that they should return. When Tolani got back to the village, he held Ella's hand to see if anything bad would happen to him, but nothing bad did. Tolani then went to the palace and saw that the prince and his bodyguards were now healthy and fine. Tolani then explained everything that happened to the king. In the meantime, the king had apologized to Prince Olu. Prince Olu, being a kind young man, did not pick offense. He even told the king that if his father, King Maidon, arrives the next day, he would talk to his father not to be angry and that everything was just a misunderstanding. The next day, it came as a shock. It turned out that the vision Tolani saw was real. King Maidon had indeed used a shortcut to enter the village and was with an army. Prince Olu begged his father on behalf of the village that what happened was a misunderstanding. He explained that the village did not mean to harm him but were experiencing some trouble with the gods. King Maidon, seeing that his son was fine, saw that there was no need to attack the village. The king of Morocco village then packaged a whole of gifts, including food items, as a way to apologize for stressing King Maidon and his son, Prince Olu. It didn't take long. King Maidon, his son, and the warriors returned back to their village. As soon as they left, Zimona held a meeting with the king in the palace. Ella and her son was also present there. Zimona told the king that it was a good thing his son, Tolani, had saved the village by seeing a vision and preventing war with the help of the enchanted bead. She, however, explained that the village was not yet free from danger. The king was confused. He didn't understand. Tolani saw a vision with the help of the enchanted bead and also gifted the bead to the goddess to save the village. Also, there was no need to sacrifice Laila since Prince Olu and his father, King Maidon, had gone peacefully out of the village. Zimona then had to tell the king something that only she, the high priestess, knew. Zimona explained to the king that the enchanted bead was a relic of protection and not just a regular form of charm. She added that the bead was even more rare and powerful than most spiritual items. Zimona explained that hundreds of years ago, the founder of the village encountered a problem. She explained that because the village was very close to the forest of heavens, evil spirits and creatures would disturb the peace of the land. Desperate to save his land, Okium and his wife sought out enchanted bead deep inside the forest of heavens. There they got the magical enchanted bead. Zimona then said that as long as the bead was within the village, no form of evil creature could come and dwell. That was the secret behind the peacefulness of the village for hundreds of years. Zimona said that Okium's wife was the only one that returned back to the village. She became the first high priestess and passed down the secret of the enchanted bead to next high priestess. That was how the bead had been passed down till it got to her time. It was a difficult and overwhelming story to take in. As Tolani heard the story, he now understood why the bead was able to protect him from Ella's curse and why the goddess instantly granted him his wish despite the fact that he summoned her in the night. Zimona explained to everyone that they would need to get another enchanted bead from the heart of the forest in order for the village to be safe. She added that she had to stay behind to protect the village of anything evil attacks. Tolani then told his mother that he would not mind going to look for the bead in order to save the village. Zimona told her son that she would fortify him for the mission. The king then told Zimona that 10 of the strongest warriors would accompany Tolani to the forest. Zimona then told the king that Ella needed to follow Tolani and the bodyguards to the dark forest. She explained that since Ella had been blessed by the beauty goddess and no longer cursed, it would be good for them. She explained that sinister creatures would see that Ella has been blessed by the goddess and so many would not want to harm or get close to her. Ella was happy that she could follow Tolani to the forest and be of help to him. Tolani has sacrificed so much for her and she wanted to be with him, even now that there was more danger. Soon it was time. Ella, Tolani, and the bodyguards prepared and started their journey inside the forest. Inside the forest, the group saw many creatures of various kinds. Most didn't get close to them because of Zimona fortification and Ella's presence. The few that decided to attack, Tolani and the guards easily subdued them. Soon, they arrived at a place where they needed to cross a stream to the other side of the forest. Tolani told the bodyguards that they should do away with their weapons. He told them that they should not cross the river with it. He and Ella then crossed past the river. The bodyguards, who were not quite convinced of Tolani's words, decided to cross the rivers with their weapons. They wanted to hold their weapons in case of more danger. However, as they did, they all suddenly disappeared. As Ella turned back and saw what happened, she was confused and became afraid. Tolani then told her that the warriors were fine and that they had vanished back to the village. He explained that the river was a mysterious river that would only allow someone to cross if they are not holding any weapon of any kind. Tolani then told Ella that they should continue their journey. After some time, they both arrived at the sacred place where they would get the bead. A creature's head suddenly sprung up from the ground and spoke. Ella was afraid of the creature, but Tolani held her. The creature told them that he meant no harm and wants to reward them with the enchanted bead of protection as they had come this far. However, the creature told Ella and Tolani that someone must become a sacrifice and would not return back to the village. The creature said that hundreds of years ago, Okyum and his wife came to seek the enchanted bead. However, they had to be a sacrifice, so Okyum sacrificed himself and his wife became the high priestess after she returned back to the village. You both have to decide. And you have to decide fast. The creature said as it stared at them with its large scary eyes. Tolani knew what he had to do. He confessed his love for Ella and told her to return back to the village. He said he doesn't mind sacrificing his life to save her and the village. Ella fell to the ground and began to cry. "Tell my mother that I love her," Tolani said. "I can't let you do this. I love you. I don't want you to die," Ella said in tears. As she was still crying, a voice spoke from behind. "Don't worry. I will be the sacrifice." The voice spoke. It was the voice of a human. Ella and Tolani turned back and saw that the person behind was Lila, Ella's mother. Ella was shocked. Lila walked up to Ella and Tolani and told them what happened. She told them that she begged Zimona to fortify her so she could come into the forest and look for them. Lila said that she wanted to make sure both of them were safe and also own up to her fault and mistake. Ella held her mother and both of them began to cry. "Please forgive me, my child," Lila said. "I was never angry at you, mother. I love you," Ella said in tears. "I have to take responsibility for my mistake." Laila said as she turned her gaze to Tolani. Tolani, thank you for all you have done for me. You are a good man. Please take care of my daughter, Laila said. She then walked up to meet the creature. The enchanted bead of protection then magically appeared in front of Tolani. Tolani picked up the bead. Suddenly, the creature and Laila vanished into thin air. Ella watched in tears as her mom disappeared. Tolani held Ella and comforted her. He knew there was no way he could have saved everyone. And so that was how Laila's story became a tale. When Tolani and Ella got to the village, they told the king what had happened. Soon, everyone in the village knew about what happened to Laila. Her story became a lesson for everyone. It was also a tale of redemption and symbolized the mother's love for her child. The king then made a decree and abolished the festival where the maidens in the land had to be put together for the prince to marry the most beautiful. He realized that beauty lied in the heart and not the appearance of a person. Time passed as Ella and Tolani became wedded and were now a couple in the village. Everyone attended their feast and the king gave them his blessings. He also told them that their families would always have a place in the palace for generations to come as a way of honoring Laila's sacrifice. This is the end of our beloved tale. Please like, share and subscribe to Folktale for more interesting stories. Till we meet again. The sky changed color as thunder and lightning began to strike. The whole village began to tremble and the earth began to shake. Soon, fire started to fall down from the sky, destroying the village of Kosu and its evil inhabitants. Ella watched in tears as fire began to consume Kosu village and as the thunder began to strike and tear things apart. Long time ago, there lived a beautiful and prosperous village called Kosu. Kosu was a village of beauty, with majestic hills, lush meadows, beautiful streams and good vegetation. However, despite the natural blessings placed on this beautiful village, a lot of the villagers were evil, conceited and wicked to their neighboring villages. The king of Kosu was a proud, insatiable king driven by a strong appetite for power and glory. Despite the fact that other villages were at peace with him, he wasn't satisfied. He wanted more riches, gold and power for himself and his village. He also was not scared to use any means to achieve his goal. The king of Kosu began to attack the neighboring villages. There would be serious warfare on the battlefield and the other villagers would put up a strong fight. However, the village of Kosu would eventually end up winning. The king of Kosu would then take the villagers as slaves, take their gold and their belongings. Some time later, the village of Kosu went on another attack. This time they attacked a village called Madura. However, the warriors of Madura village proved to be too strong for the village of Kosu. The men and fighters of the village of Kosu who survived sustained serious injuries and markings all over their body. The defeat was horrible and the warriors of Kosu retreated back to their village. King Kosu held a meeting with his advisors about how to defeat Madura village. One of the advisors, who happened to be one of only few good persons in the village, then decided to advise the king. He told the king that since their village had conquered a lot of villages already and was already prosperous, they should refrain from attacking Madura village. He explained that Madura village army were too powerful and that most of their men were like giants. He also told the king that if they attacked Madura village again, they would not win and would also lose many of their soldiers. The king of Kosu was furious about the suggestion that he was given by this special advisor. He told the guards to lock him up in the prison. The king then took more men from the villages he had already conquered. He forced them into his army and marched them to fight another battle with Madura village. The king of Kosu ended up losing again. This happened because the men he had added into his army were not warriors. They were mostly traders and farmers who were forced into the army just to satisfy the greed of the king of Kosu. After the second brutal defeat, one of the king's advisors, Mura, who had a heart that was darker than even the most of the evil men in the kingdom, approached the king. He told the king about a forbidden temple that was said to house a powerful dark god that could grant powers beyond what any man could imagine. The king was curious. He was willing to try anything. The next day, he and his advisor, Muten, went with a few guards to the temple. Inside the temple, Mura, who also happened to be a sorcerer, performed a ritual. Muten was able to communicate with the evil god. Muten then told the king that the god required an adolescent girl child as a host. He explained that the evil god could pour its power of fire and lightning into the child, and with the child, the king would be able to win any war he desired. Muten, however, told the king that for the ritual to work, there were two conditions. First, the child parents, both father and mother, must be of a pure heart, and second, their marriage had to happen willingly without the interference of any family or outsider. The king of Kosu then went on a rampage search. He began to separate mother and children, taking the girl child to the evil temple for the ritual. The king took several teenage girls to the temple for the ritual. However, when the fire enveloped the girl child in the temple, the girl will eventually end up dying. This was because either one or both of their parents were not pure-hearted, or because their love was forced. However, everything changed with a child called Ella. The king had already killed 106 girls before Ella. Ella's mother was a widow who had lost her husband and had only Ella as her child. Ella was taken to the evil temple. As she stepped inside, the evil god flame enveloped her, but instead of killing her, the fire did not harm her. Muten then told the king that the ritual was successful and that Ella now carried the power of the god. He, however, told the king that because Ella was a child of a pure heart parents, that Ella would have a pure heart too. He said that they would not be able to carry the power from Ella, and not even the evil god would be able to do so himself. The powers would forever belong to Ella. The king and Muten then went back to where Ella's mother lived and then killed her. Ella, who saw everything that happened, was crippled on the ground and began to cry. She had now lost the last parent that she had. This was all because of the selfish ambition of the king. Muten then told the king that they would have to take Ella to the palace and control everything about her. When the king arrived at the palace, Mura performed an evil spell and made Ella to forget about her dead parents. He succeeded in being able to remove her memories. The king then convinced Ella that he was her father and that he loved her and would take care of her. All this was just so that Ella would be controlled by them. From time to time, as the king went on more battles, he would carry Ella. He would cover her eyes with cloth. He would then tell her that evil people are ahead of them and want to attack their village to kill everyone. He would tell Ella that only her godlike powers could save everybody. Ella would then stretch her hands and use her powers to rain down a thunderstorm on the opposing warriors. In a few minutes, most of enemies who wanted to fight the soldiers of Kosu village would be defeated. The king would then use his army to do the final blow to the enemies. The king made sure to always cover Ella's eyes because he did not want her to witness the destruction her powers would cause. He didn't want her to become soft or to refuse using her powers because of the death she would cause on the battlefield. With Ella and her godlike powers, there was no battle that the village of Kosu could not win. Time soon passed. In the palace, Ella grew up to become a beautiful girl. However, she noticed that in the palace and outside the palace, everyone was afraid of her. Even the guards that served her food or attended to her would shake and tremble at her. This made Ella to be uncomfortable and sad. However, Ella found peace and friendship with the head maid servant of the palace, a woman named Modu. Modu had only one child, a girl called Delight. Modu, however, would tell Ella stories and treat her like her own daughter. Unlike the rest of the people in the village, Modu had a good heart. Ella and Modu's daughter became friends in the palace and became Ella's only source of joy. As Ella began to grow up, the king told Muten that they needed to assert more control on Ella. Muten then came up with a plan. He told a maid to prepare a meal for Ella, however he placed a poison that would make Ella to be blind. As Ella ate the food, she then became blind after some days. Ella then began to wear a blindfold. This time it was now permanent. The king then placed Modu in charge of Ella to cater for her every need since she would no longer be able to see. The king, however, did not know that Ella and Modu shared a special kind of bond. However, something strange happened after Ella became blind. She realized that she could hear differently and more accurately unlike any other person. From inside her room, she could hear what the king was discussing with his friends and council at the palace court. She could also hear gossips that the maid spoke of in the kitchen. She was also able to hear what the guards were discussing amongst themselves. When she discovered her newfound powers, she went to meet Modu and told her. Modu told Ella that her new powers was a gift from the gods in order to protect her since she had lost her sight. Modu then told Ella to be vigilant and pay attention to the king and Mura. Weeks and months passed and Ella began to know about the secrets in the palace. She got to find out that the king was not her true father. She also got to know that apart from Modu and the advisor that was jailed because he had advised the king, the rest of the people in the palace had a twisted and wicked mind. Ella also got to know about the evil god and the evil temple that gave her the supernatural power. She found out that the king and Muten were secretly sacrificing children at the beginning of every month to thank the evil god for the power they had now gained. Ella cried for many nights when she realized this. Her view about her village, the king and the palace began to change quickly. Ella also realized that the people of Kosu village maltreated and abused the people and the neighboring villages that she had helped the king to conquer. While taking a stroll outside the palace with the guide of Modu, she would hear slaves crying, mothers being beaten and all manner of evil deeds happening. Ella would go into her room to cry in the night. She would cry because she knew that without her powers the king would not have been able to subdue and enslave all the villages. Soon, Ella also realized that the reason she was blind was because of Mutin, the king's special advisor. With her supernatural hearing powers, she had Mutin whispering to himself in his room that as long as she ate the food that he had placed a certain drug on, she would continue to be blind. When Ella realized this, she told Modu to help her. Modu then made sure that Ella was no longer eating the food that Mutin poisoned. It was very risky for her. However, with the help of her daughter, Delight, they were able to succeed. Ella, despite all she knew, was still sad because she did not yet know about her real parents. This was because she did not have her old memories. Modu also could not tell Ella anything about her parents because she did not know about them. Some time passed and Mutin began to lust after the daughter of Modu, Delight. He told Modu to convince her daughter to give in to her advances, unless he would severely punish her. Delight ran into Ella's room to cry. "I don't want to be forced to do anything. I want to love. I want to be free." Delight cried in the laps of Ella. "It's okay, you will be fine. You and your mother will be fine. I promise you," Ella said to Delight. That night as Ella slept, her powers began to overwhelm her. The spell that was used to remove her memories disappeared. Ella then remembered everything that happened to her. She saw how her mother was killed right before her and how she got her powers. When she awoke, she then realized that she could see. Tears dropped from her eyes as she began to cry. She had gotten the answer about her parents and her true identity. She had also gotten her sight. Ella all through the night then cooked up a master plan to end all the evil that was happening around her. In the morning, Ella blindfolded her eyes. When Modu came to attend to her, she told Modu the truth about who she was. She also explained to Modu that she had regained her eyesight. Ella told Modu that if the king knew that she had her eyesight, they may want to harm her again. She told Modu that the evil and corruption in the village was too much and that she wanted to end it. She told Modu that her birthday was coming up in a few days and that the king would throw a very big party for her. Ella told Modu that she would use the party as a way to free all the people that the king had enslaved. Ella told Modu that since she was the head maid in the whole kingdom, she should share a sleeping herb to all the maids to use to cook in their household. This would make the villagers of Kosu village to fall asleep. Modu would also do the same thing for main palace. Once the king, the guards and the wicked citizens of Kosu was asleep, the slaves and captives should pack their belongings and escape. Ella then told Modu that once they are far gone, she would take care of the rest. "This is my destiny. I have to bring peace again to all the villages," Ella said to Modu. A few days passed and it was Ella's birthday. There was a huge celebration. It was the only celebration that even the guards were permitted to drink and be merry. This was why Ella knew it was the perfect time to strike. Modu followed the instructions of Ella and everything went smoothly. It didn't take long. Everywhere became quiet as the king, the king's courtmen and even the guards had fallen asleep. It was the go-ahead signal. The people that Kosu village had enslaved began to gather their things in order to escape. Ella also made sure that the king advisor who advised the king not to battle other villages was set free. She did her best to make sure that those who didn't partake in the evil traditions of the village were part of those to escape. Ella hugged Modu and her daughter Delight in tears. "Is there no way that you can come and be with us?" Delight asked, crying. "You will be fine," Ella said to her only friend Delight. Ella hugged Modu and Delight one more time and bid them farewell. She made sure that the people had gone very far from Kosu village. When she could no longer see them, she knew it was now time for her to end the atrocities of Kosu village. The sky changed color as thunder and lightning began to strike. The whole village began to tremble and the earth began to shake. Soon, fire started to fall down from the sky, destroying the village of Kosu and its evil inhabitants. Ella watched in tears as fire began to consume Kosu village and as the thunder began to strike and tear things apart. The village of Kosu burned down to ashes, killing the king, his evil advisor, Muten, and all the remaining evil people in the land. Ella then went into the evil temple that was the cause of all the madness, where the hundreds of children had died because of the king. Ella made up her mind that she would die in the floors of the evil temple just like all the other girls who did not survive the evil god's fire. Ella then rained down lightning to break the walls of the evil temple. With her last strength, she set the temple ablaze with fire. The fire burnt and the evil temple was destroyed. And so it came to pass that the lands and villages were once peaceful again. The remaining villages learnt a lesson from the demise of the village of Kosu. They decided not to go to war with each other but rather to remain peaceful. This was to honor the sacrifice of Ella, a young girl who risked everything to restore the lands to its former peace and glory. The tale of Ella became a legend, a tale to remind others about the consequences of being overdrunk with power. We have come to the end of our tale. Please like, share and subscribe for more interesting stories. Till we meet again.